What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Curated, a podcast about life and the melodies that make it all worthwhile. Welcome to the soundtrack of self-discovery. I am so happy that you've decided to join in it today. Y'all, before this podcast episode, I had one scheduled out, which was about the connection between discipline and motivation and inspiration to help us in our creative journeys. It was a very insightful conversation. I spent a couple of hours editing. I actually recorded that shit 3 times, and then I had to unschedule it this morning at 7 in the morning because I was like, oh shit, Spotify Wrapped is here and we need to drop everything and do this shit right now, okay? Spotify Wrapped is like my Christmas. If you're anything like me, basically the whole month of December is Wrapped season. You're refreshing your Spotify app, you're waiting to see who your top artist is, and if you're secretly a Swiftie, you're just, pretending like you're not during the season, because we all know half of y'all bitches are Swifties for sure, and you're just not sharing your Spotify Wrapped because you're embarrassed to say that. Don't lie to yourself, okay? Nonetheless, Wrapped 2024 is here, and man, they pulled out all the stops. I can geek out on Spotify Wrapped. I geek out every year. I actually have done this a couple of years now where I talk about Spotify Wrapped and the newness of it and what new features are involved in this year's essentially marketing campaign. We're looking at the features during this podcast episode. We're looking at the insights that are being pulled, and what has been created for creators too. So let's unpack everything that Spotify 2024 has to offer. Let's get into it. So, if you all don't know, Spotify Wrapped is essentially at its core a marketing campaign. It's something that started, I think, back in 2015. There's another episode that I did where I talk more in depth about how Spotify Wrapped comes to be, the logistics side of it, and how it came to be, when it came to be. But it essentially is like a compilation of data that spans from the entire year, from January 1st up until October 31st. And during this period, Spotify tracks a variety of behaviors, which include your listening patterns, so the total hours of music streaming that you did, the frequency of the listens, the number of times a certain track or an artist was listened to, interactions, so how listeners are engaging with content, such as if you're adding your songs to playlist, if you're sharing music, if you're discovering new artists, and then location data. So obviously, while respecting privacy to the most it can do, Spotify is using regional based insights to show trends, and then to showcase the rise of certain genres and certain locations and certain songs in certain countries and regions. So for me, as a marketer, Spotify Wrapped is not only one, if not my favorite marketing campaign, because at the end of the day, it truly is a marketing campaign. I'll try to pull some stats to share with you all later on this or on social. I'll post them up, but I'm sure the increase of subscribers that Spotify gets during this time period goes up substantially because of this campaign. The fear of missing out that non-Spotify users get when Spotify Wrapped comes around is fucking real. And trust me, Apple Music, SoundCloud, they have their own versions of this. After Spotify Wrapped made this, they were like, we got to get on it. But Spotify Wrapped, I think, has always pushed the boundary with shit. And so we're going to talk about what new features are in this year's specific Wrapped. So let's start with the basics. This year, we have this music evolution feature. This is for the real music nerds out there. Essentially, what you do is not only are you going to get your top songs and artists, but you're also are going to be able to get a timeline that shows how your tastes have shifted over the years and over months. For me, I think it was showing me from July up until October how my taste in music essentially shifted. I went from, I think, listening to a lot of EDM because I was in my running era to silky smooth R&B because now I'm in my simp trying to rekindle my love for music writing era. Um, it it went, you kind of get to see if you're the person who went from like emo anthems back a couple of months ago or like a couple years ago to hyperpop in 2024 with the Charlie XCX. Spotify, they got the receipts on you, okay? And then my favorite addition to this year Wrapped as well is the AI podcast feature. As a podcaster myself, I'll share with you all a little bit about how my podcast ended up doing this year, which I'll pause real quick and just give a massive shout out and appreciation to everybody who tunes into the episodes. I appreciate you all. Like truly, truly, truly from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the real motherfucking MVPs. Thank you for just listening to me rant about random shit, life, music, everything in between. Like, I truly, truly do appreciate that you guys stick around and listen. But there is this new AI podcast feature. So Spotify is legit creating this like mini audio show just for you, where narrators take your top artists, genres, and like listening quirks, and it's essentially like having your life get summarized by like a radio DJ. And if you are on premium, you actually do get a radio DJ. The AI DJ, I forget what the name of the AI DJ is, but he's back. And they'll give you like the hot takes on your stats, like why you apparently were listening to Barbie World 200 times, at 3 a.m. Don't worry. No judgment. But I might know why. And audiobooks are actually also included in this year's Spotify Wrapped. You can flex now on your friends about how cultured you may be, and what audiobooks you quote unquote read this year. So these features, like I said, I think push the boundary with how Spotify Wrapped differentiates itself with other competitors who do something like this, or have started to do things like this. The AI features, especially the one, like the podcast one, is super interesting to me. I listened to it. My partner listened to it. It's kind of like, it's creepy, because it's AI. There are these two hosts essentially who are taking you through the like journey of your listening patterns from this year, and it's like super interesting, kind of cool to see. And it makes you feel important, and I think that's a big part of why Spotify Wrapped always works. It's this like social sharing idea. When you share that you are the top whatever percent of listeners, or like who your top artists are, and hear me out, okay? We all love to brag about shit. Like, we are conceited ass people. Trust me. One of the main reasons why people love Spotify Wrapped is because they get to flex on their music listening behaviors from the year, right? If you listen to a bunch of indie artists, you want to throw that shit out just so people know that you're woke or whatever. And maybe you want to show people that you're the top artist or the top listener for a certain artist. Like, whatever the case is, a lot of times people just do it for the flex. Don't lie to yourself. You might be that fucking person. Other people may just generally do it because they're interested in the data and just like the design elements, like everything that Wrapped is on its own. But what I think this specific like AI podcast segment does is it makes you feel a little more like you can, like somebody is talking about you, and you're getting this like one-on-one little segment where they talk about what you listened to this year. It makes you just feel cool. Like, let's not lie about it. It does make you feel kind of cool and it's like a unique little feature. And the AI DJ too. The AI DJ has been a part of Spotify for I think a couple of months now. This specific one obviously just has a little bit of a twist and incorporates stats and just like, listening behavior notes from your year within Spotify. So let's talk a little bit about now the top artists and songs of 2024. I'm actually going to pull it up on my phone and we're going to talk about who reigned as this year's most streamed artist. And what was the most streamed song globally? Spoiler alert, it's still Taylor Swift, y'all. So for those watching the podcast episode, um, there is a whole section, which I think they started to do last year, on the app now, that you can, it's dedicated to Wrapped. Also ignore the fucking big ass line on my phone. I broke the shit. I'm getting it fixed, okay? But there's a whole section now on the app where you get to see essentially everything that's related to you or Spotify Wrapped, and then including like your music evolution from the years, the DJ Wrapped, your top artist clips. There's just a lot. And then obviously it has playlists as well that showcase the top tracks in the US and globally. So let's talk about that a little bit, okay? For top artists of 2024, I'm going to just talk about the top like 5 artists. At number 1, obviously, Taylor Swift. Then we have The Weeknd, Bad Bunny, Drake, and Billie Eilish. And as for the top tracks of 2024, Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter, Beautiful Things by Benson Boone, Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish, Gotta Only by Floyd Menor, and Lose Control by Teddy Swims. I have not ever heard of Gotta Only. Maybe I need to spend some time getting educated on these top songs here. Let's talk a little bit too about just like top tracks of 2024 for US specifically. So at number 1, top track, still Espresso. Number 2 actually is Not Like Us by Kendrick. I actually was wondering where Kendrick was in this whole list, because the guy's going in. He's still going in, y'all. If any of y'all are going to a store, if any of y'all are trying to cop tickets, please help me also get some, because damn, I really want to go. A Bar Song by Shabuzi. Every girly out there in the bar was playing the shit. I know it. I Had Some Help by Post Malone. I actually really fuck with that song. $1 Million Baby, and then Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan. Top artists of 2024, still the Queen, Taylor Swift, Drake, Zach Bryan, Morgan Wallen, Future, Kendrick Lamar, Travis Scott. A lot of the people that I just assumed. Honestly, though, like, I'm not gonna lie, the fact that Chappell Roan is not on a lot of these like top 5-ish lists is a little shocking, given that she had such a great year, including Charlie XCX. Like, where the fuck was Charlie XCX, y'all? Like, she went in this year. Let's flip the script now a little bit and talk about creators rap. So as somebody who has a podcast on Spotify, and within their like Spotify for Creators platform, I am able to see a set of statistics and just like behaviors and patterns from this last year, including how many people have listened, top fans, countries, all of that good shit within the platform, which is something really cool. This year, they've given artists and podcasters, I think, more tools to connect with their fans with it, and including some like really insightful information about how you can use that data to then help with your like strategy for 2025. So if you're an artist, you are able to see insights about your top listeners. So who they are, where they're from, how they're engaging with your music. And then for podcasters, we're able to see through the Spotify Creator Hub data that just not only shows how many people are listening to your podcast, but how they found your podcast and where they might have dropped off. And then the best part, Spotify has these like new celebration tools that let creators essentially flex their stats on social media. I think they started to do this last year. They kind of went a little step further with this year. So I was able to share on social. So follow me on Instagram at Curated Corner, and on TikTok on at Curated. I just posted like stats for this year, so just to give y'all a little something as to what my stats were for this year, which again, like truly y'all, I fucking appreciate every single one of y'all who listen. But 2024 gains. So we went up by 235% in terms of listeners. Y'all got me fucked up. 139% more streams. And then we have 26% new followers. 87% of the people who listened to the podcast this year were new fucking listeners. Like, come on. And then um, my podcast is being listened to in 13 countries. Like, what? And then 17 fans, which is actually like, it's great to see because I think last year 5 people were in my top, like, or my podcast was in their top 10. Now we have 17. 17 of y'all motherfuckers have my podcast on your top 10. Like, what are y'all doing? I'm sure there's something better that you can listen to, but hey, you know what? I appreciate y'all for that. Truly, truly, truly. Now, just to kind of wrap things up, I want to talk about the cultural impact of Wrapped. I have another podcast where I talk more closely about the logistics of it and just how powerful of a tool it is, not only from a marketing perspective, but also just like as a social sharing moment. But what I love about Wrapped is that it's not just about data, it's culture essentially, right? Think about how people take to social media every year to share their stats. It becomes this kind of like badge of honor, a way to flex essentially the obscure artists you have on your top 5, or to say that you were in the top 0.01% listeners of like some niche indie artist or Taylor Swift, because I know y'all bitches were in there. You're just not trying to tell us. And then for the memes, iconic, y'all. Every year, like the internet is kind of flooded with jokes about your questionable late night listening habits, the embarrassing top songs you might have. Wrapped becomes this massive global event where music lovers just get to vibe. Plus, Wrapped I think has sparked tons of trends now just beyond music. It encourages more artists to drop year-end singles, creators to think about how they can connect with their audience in more meaningful ways. It's not just about the stats, it's about storytelling. And I think for me specifically as a creator on the app, I think it's really nice to be able to get all these stats and not only share in a moment of celebration with listeners, a moment of appreciation for all the listeners and all the growth that we've had for the year, but then also as a way for me to take all of those stats and think about, what are we going to do for 2025? How are we going to take this shit to the next level? So there you have it, y'all. Spotify Wrapped 2024 is bigger, better, more personalized than ever. So whether you're here for the music, the podcast, or just to see if your pet playlist made the cut, there's something I think for everybody. Creators, this is I think our moment, for those who used the rap stats to celebrate the wins and connect with fans, and then for the rest of us, it's just a moment for us to keep making memories one playlist at a time. It's a cool way to share with your friends what you were listening to this year, and what the vibes were for you. It's a true teller of everybody's like moments, cultural moments, life moments for the year. I truly, honestly, y'all, I love Spotify Wrapped. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I want to know, drop in the comments, send me a voice memo, send me a DM. I want to know who your top artist of this year was. If it's Taylor Swift, fucking tell me. Tell me. I know it was. You just don't want to tell us. Maybe you can just DM it to me. But I know some of y'all, and I know it was Taylor Swift. Nonetheless, please share with me your thoughts on this year's Spotify Wrapped. Like, what do you like about it? Design elements. I could geek out on the design elements too, y'all. The UX, the design, all that shit, good stuff. I want to know how you feel about Spotify Wrapped this year. What did you like about it? What elements are you a fan of? I want to know if you have Apple Music or SoundCloud. Like, how does this compare to what you get to see every year? Let me know which top artists you were most surprised to see in that top 10 list globally or in the US. But honestly, I'm just going to end here by just saying once more that I truly, truly, truly appreciate every single person that tunes in and listens to me rant about random fucking shit. Never did I think that people in 13 different countries would be listening to this fucking podcast, that for 17 of you all, I am your top 10. Like, it means a lot. It means a lot. So I appreciate y'all, truly. For now, I will catch you all on the next one. But again, thank you so much for tuning in.